You'll have been hearing during the course of the day that the acting CEO of the Passenger Rail Company of South Africa, Letsoalo, this morning held a press conference, and he said that press reports over the weekend were mischievous, to say the least, and he went line by line to discredit what had come through that. But what then happened in the last literally an hour or so, we've just heard that he's been recalled back to the Department of Home Affairs, where he was Department of Transport, where he was acting as an advisor there. And to talk to us a little bit more about this, we're now joined by Nana Zenani, who's the Senior Manager for Communications at PRASA. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to the program. What can you tell us about this turn of events? When we woke up this morning, Letsoalo told us that he was the CEO, and justifiably so.
I think what's important is to concentrate on the reason behind the decision of the board. And the reason is quite simple. There are policies and procedures that protect, or rather govern, all protocols when it comes to PRASA. Our decision to then ask Mr. Letsoalo to go back to the department was based on the fact that the reasoning behind the increase in his salary had been that he had not followed those proper processes. This decision was taken outside of the Human Capital and Remuneration Committee, which is part of the board committee, and therefore did not get the recommendations that go with this kind of a decision. And so we had no choice as PRASA but to ask for him to be recalled. All
right, so let's break this down a little bit. Are we saying that he signed off on the increase himself, and this wasn't a board instruction?
The board had not ratified the decision at all.
Okay, so when he said that this morning that he had in his possession documentary evidence that his salary increase was going to be at the same level as that of a CEO, and he used the previous CEO's level of salary, was that an incorrect assumption on his part?
I think it was a rather unfortunate assumption, because this would be a letter that any applicant would receive if you are inquiring about a particular position. The letter itself is generic, and it relates to a permanent person. Unfortunately, in this case, Mr. Letsoalo was an acting group CEO, and of course, there are different rules and regulations that govern that kind of a salary remuneration package.
But an acting CEO, with all due respect, is a full-time job. It's not a part-time job.
I don't think that is in question at all, and I think that the board was very much appraised to the fact that he does have an added responsibility. I think that when he quoted that he received a letter endorsing him from the chairman of the board, he may have misunderstood that however the endorsement says that it acknowledges the level of responsibility he now carries, rules and regulations around all remuneration has to be done in accordance to protocol. That the board has to be able to ratify that salary based on what we have agreed as the control measures within PRASA, and that did not happen.
He said that he didn't receive a salary for, I think, 4 months. To get clarity on this, surely the board would have known that this was going on and would have cleared things up for him at that point.
I think that your analysis of the situation might need for him to be able to answer that. It would be difficult for us as to then speak on that behalf. Because that was not the original issue that we are discussing now.
Did you know that he wasn't paid for 4 months?
No, this was not brought to the board's attention, nor was it raised this morning during the press conference. And I think that perhaps anything that would formally alert the board would have been treated and handled with the utmost urgency that it deserved.
That sounds quite incredible that the chief executive officer who reports directly to the board, who meets with the board, that you would have no knowledge at board level about an ongoing issue with the CEO's remuneration.
I think let's put things into perspective. Because this particular remuneration package did not go through the necessary channels, which is, of course, the remuneration committee within the board. The board would therefore not have been appraised of the fact that there was a change either in the salary, nor if he had raised the issue that he hadn't been paid, that would, of course, been treated differently. However, what we are discussing today is the matter at which, the unfortunate matter, rather, that we were not aware of the fact that there was a flouting of protocol until the article came up. And, of course, it is the duty of PRASA as a board of control to make sure that such protocols are enforced and they're in place, and if there's any irregularities, that they're dealt with swiftly.
When did you first find out that procedure hadn't been followed?
It would be difficult for me to divulge internal discussions. However, suffice to say that we did make it known to the public today of our knowledge of the fact that certain procedures were not followed, and of course we made a decision based on that information.
Had you approached him before today to tell him that procedures hadn't been followed and that he should reverse his decision?
As I said, there are internal discussions which I'm privy to share. What I can confirm with you now is that he was informed of the fact that we would be taking this decision.
He says that this is all part of a smear campaign and that at some point he will be in a position to tell the whole truth about what's actually going on here. He even suggested that he had evidence of who these people are, and I just wonder what your thoughts or the thoughts of the board are about this.
I think what is at hand here is the fact that we have approximately 2.6 million passengers who are in dire need of proper public transportation, in this case rail. I think let us not digress and miss that as the mandate of PRASA. I think that anything that is above and outside of that protocol would be difficult for us to answer as PRASA.
All right. He talked a lot about corruption, and I just wonder, is there a huge tender that might be getting in the way here?
That is, I think the question is rather odd.
Why would that be odd? Because he talked...
And let me finish my point, please. The question is odd because what we are dealing here with is a remuneration package which we have investigated as PRASA and found that certain protocols were not followed. If there is an issue of a tender, it certainly would not be part of this discussion.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for sharing your thoughts with us. That was Nana Zenani, who's a Senior Communications Manager at the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa.